Hey book lovers, I'm Eric from Lonesome Reader. 2017 is flying by, and I've read some truly amazing books so far this year. Yes, the news these days is depressing, but I think that's all the more reason why we should celebrate great new books, especially ones which so brilliantly help us connect with and get a feel for the lives of people different from ourselves. I've read 45 books since the start of the year, which is less than average for me, but things have been quite chaotic lately with moving house and other things going on in my life. These are my top 10 books published in 2017 so far that I absolutely loved, and I love them so much that I want to share a particular mystery favorite with one lucky viewer. In past years, I've run a competition on my blog which worked so well that I want to do it again. To enter for a chance to win one of these books, all you need to do is subscribe to my channel if you've not already subscribed, and like this video. Then leave a comment letting me know the best book that you've read so far this year. It doesn't need to be a recently published book. It could be Dickens or Jane Austen. At the end of July, I'll pick one of your suggestions and send that person one of my favorite books from the list that I'm going to give you now. It's open to anywhere in the world, and I'll list all these points below if you click Show More. On to the books. These are in no particular order. The Good Immigrant, edited by Nikesh Shukla. So I'm cheating already because I said all these books were first published this year, but this book was actually first published last year, but the paperback only just recently came out. This book is so good, and it's one of those books that I think a lot of people will have seen and think, I should get around to that, but not actually read. But trust me, start reading it and you won't want to stop. These personal essays include heartrending testimonies about the way people from Britain who are not white are regularly marginalized and underrepresented in British society. They range from lightly humorous recollections to sharp critiques that will change your frame of reference, to provocative thoughts, to shocking accounts of racial stigma and abuse. It's so refreshing reading the large range of points of view in this book, and you can tell that these were all written from the heart. This anthology is utterly absorbing, and sneak peek, I'll soon be talking much more about this book and other books with booktuber Anna James, as we have a super secret project that we've been working on and which will be announced soon. The End We Start From by Megan Hunter. I have a real passion for disaster movies. I also like weird, poetic literary fiction. Well, this debut novel is the best of both worlds because it's about a catastrophic flood that happens in London at the same time as its narrator gives birth. It's about her struggle for survival, but also the strange way that family and parenthood sort of cut us off from the rest of the world and create this very claustrophobic environment. It's a very short novel, written in an utterly unique and beautifully striking style. Dear friend, from my life I write to you in your life by Yiyun Lee. This is a superb book for book lovers. In personal memoirist essays, it explores the author's relationship with reading, writing, and the weird intimate relationship that's formed on the page between the author and reader, which sort of brings us closer together than we can ever be in actual physical life. It raises all these meaningful questions about the reading life, but also delves into the author's personal experiences and her struggles with identity and suicide. It's deep, intensely meaningful, and profound. One of the Boys by Daniel Magariel. This is the story of a troubled father stealing his two boys away from their mother in a shocking way. They learn from their father a particular kind of masculinity, which is very domineering and bullying towards people who oppose him, and physically abusive when his boys displease him. This portrait of manhood is intensely realized, but what is so amazing about this book is how sparingly it's written. The impact is like a punch to the gut. It's resonant and incredibly moving. Stay With Me by Ayobami Adebayo. I find myself recommending this book to people more and more, and I actually just gave a copy to someone the other day. It was shortlisted for this year's Bailey's Women's Prize for Fiction. It's the story of a married couple in Nigeria whose relationship deteriorates over many years. Not because they don't love each other, but because they have difficulty in conceiving a child, and the social pressure to do so is huge. It explores the difficulties of family life, but also the way in which, as Adebayo writes, the biggest lies are often the ones we tell ourselves. This novel is gripping, intelligent, and full of fascinating surprises. A Book of American Martyrs by Joyce Carol Oates. JCO is fearless at confronting some of the most pressing social and political issues in America today. The issue of abortion has been and continues to be a very controversial subject, particularly under the current political administration. This is a richly dramatic story which begins with an extremist Christian executing an abortion doctor, and it goes on to follow the lives of both of the men's daughters. It doesn't seek to answer the question of how extremism can be overcome, but memorialize how individuals can evolve to see past their limited perspective to that of another. Lincoln in the Bardo by George Saunders. It's wild, it's weird, it's spooky, it's perverse, it's hilarious, it's experimental. It's a lot of writing styles mashed together. It's Abraham Lincoln in a graveyard holding his deceased son. It has an enormous cast of encircling spirits. In Saunders' distorted fictional realm, traditional notions of time collapse and the ravenous ego runs riot. The ensuing chaotic drama is a physical realization of the unchained dark side of consciousness, where every private part of our being takes shape before our eyes. It's an experience which is both liberating and terrifying, and this book is phenomenal. The Heart's Invisible Furies by John Boyne. This epic book follows the life of Cyril Avery from his unwed mother's dramatic pregnancy, where she was thrown out of her small Irish village, to his growing through the changing decades of Ireland's recent history. It's a story full of passion and humor that made me feel like I truly lived alongside Cyril. There are so many engaging, memorable characters, particularly a character named Maud, who's a novelist that delights in how little her books sell. It's a novel that shows the way that Ireland has surprisingly changed from an intensely homophobic country to one which legalized gay marriage by popular vote. This is a story about the changing meaning of home and growing into the person that you truly are. I just loved this novel. Homegoing by Ya Jiasi. So what hasn't been said about this incredibly popular novel? Well, I find it so heartening and wonderful that it is so popular because it deserves to be so. It's a multi-generational epic told with the insightful brevity of short stories. Two African sisters estranged at birth and the lives of their families through subsequent generations and centuries. It's dizzying how powerful each individual story is, but also how beautifully they connect together through recurring imagery and themes. It's a tremendous accomplishment, particularly for a debut novel, and I hope it wins every award. A Boy in Winter by Rachel Seffert. I only read this novel recently, but the more I think about it, the more powerfully it lingers in my imagination. It's the story of a Ukrainian village beset by Nazis over the course of a few days in 1941. Two Jewish boys disobey orders to be corralled under armed guard with the other Jewish people in the village. Instead, they set out on their own. Their story and the stories of the people they meet are gripping and terrifying. Seffert is a truly magnificent writer that conveys such intensity of feeling. It's stunningly told and devastating, but I think it's a historical novel that also speaks so powerfully about our world now. So those are my 10 choices. If you want to read more of my thoughts about these books, click show more and you'll find links to my full reviews of each book. Are any of my choices also your favorite books of the year? Which of these are you most intrigued to read now? Let me know in the comments below, and if you want to be entered into my giveaway, do let me know what your favorite book of the year so far is. I'm so curious to read what other people's top books are. I hope you've all had a great year so far. Thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you soon. Happy reading, everyone.